Hey Bodgers, back at the museum, and I've got something special for you to look at with our resident expert Martin. You remember Martin from the other video? Link in the description. So yeah, so we're in the radio room. We've got all the usual stuff that is expanding. So we've got this area here is all going to be for Martin to expand into. Far end, you're setting up like a Halifax.
Yeah, so this should end up looking like the radio compartment in the aircraft eventually.
Eventually, we'll get there. So what we've got to the left and what we've got to the right?
So we've got the receiver on the left, the transmitters on the right, most key on the desk. It should look something like that when finished. The meter at the top, which is the direction finding indicator, will be over here somewhere. And hopefully, where the current oscilloscope is, that will be a radar display unit, if we can get one. Nice.
So if you know of one, let us know, and we'll get it all set up. But I did fetch him something. Now I got it from my friend Matt. He is an Axis Forces reenactor. So the thing he got was no good to him, unless he captured it off a British person and whatever. So, what have we got? What was it used for? What do we need?
Okay, so this is a Fullerphone Mk IV Star. So that's a slightly more advanced version of the usual Fullerphone. Now, the Fullerphone is actually a World War I invention, and it's a DC line telegraph. So the idea behind these is that it allowed you to send Morse over the normal telephone lines that would be run out to the front lines. But because of the way it works, it can't easily be detected, it can't be overheard by the enemy. Normal telephone lines and ordinary telegraph lines in the First World War, all you had to do was put a couple of spikes in the ground, connect them to some high impedance headphones, and you could hear everything if you were close enough.
Okay.
So these are designed to not be easy to intercept, but they will also operate at the same time over the same telephone lines without anyone knowing you're doing so.
So, in like when you had your internet at home and someone got a phone call and it knocked your dial-up off.
No, that's right. No.
So they already had that mastered back then.
That's it. It's kind of the World War I equivalent of a modern broadband system, only with considerably less bandwidth and a lot slower. So how this beastie works, we have a battery compartment here, and there would be two batteries sat in there, two X or B cells I think they were called. Both 1.5 volts. You only need one of them for it to actually operate. The other one is used for this additional control here. So you would attach your lines off to your remote station to these terminals here. You would have a battery in there, and you would pull this on here to turn the whole set on. Now that's an interesting little beast, because when you put this back in its box, that little rubber knob there which holds the headset in place for storage will push that back in and turn it off if you forget to do so.
Nice.
Now how this beast works is all down to this module here. This is a buzzer sounder type F, and it has two special knobs with it. Unfortunately one of ours is broken, and we're trying to find a source of a replacement. So far we've come up a little short on that.
So if you've got one of these, let's have a look at it a bit close up. So it's like that, but it would have had, this bit would have been threaded a bit further, wouldn't it? It's actually snapped, hasn't it?
They're such a long thread. I am trying to get the other one out to show, but it takes a while. And the problem with repairing them is that the pin inside is spring loaded. So just trying to, even if we could repair the broken thread, getting it perfectly straight so that pin moves is tricky. Now how it works is all down to this little beast, and essentially it's some coils of wire and a metal bar that will move.
Right.
and you adjust one of these sides down until that contact just touches the bar and you'll hear a clicking noise in the headphones. And at that point, that one bar is touching one of the coils.
Okay.
And then you screw the other one down until it touches the same, but at that point, that bar will start to vibrate between the two.
Right.
And it will be buzzing electrically.
Okay. Yeah.
And you'll hear that in the headphones. But properly adjusted, you'll only actually hear it when you use the Morse key. And there's a lock-in knob there, look, so once you've got it adjusted, you'll lock that on. So that sits in there.
Would you do that every time you set it up?
You would probably have to give it a little tweak. Hopefully if you've not moved it far, it probably wouldn't need a lot. So you have the Morse key here, it uses both contacts. So there is always current on the line.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that makes it difficult to intercept.
Okay.
And so as you press the Morse key, it controls how this buzzer is connected to these terminals. And then of course you've got your headphones for listening to the other station.
Yeah.
Now I've just checked with the meter, these are reading good.
Good.
So I haven't checked individually, but at least one earpiece should work. Yeah. Now the extra battery on here is used for this potentiometer and this switch.
Okay.
And this is quite a clever thing. If you're getting interference and the signals are difficult to work with, because this is a direct current system, to stop that interference, all you have to do is put the same signal onto the wire, but with the opposite polarity.
So that's like your noise cancelling headphones.
It's a noise cancelling system, yeah. So this potentiometer controls the level of the voltage, and this switch selects whether or not you connect it that way up or that way up. So if you're getting interference and it's a positive voltage, you'd switch it down, so you put a negative one on and then you'd adjust that to cancel it out. So it's a pretty clever beast. There's very little inside them and it's all down to how that works.
And these would have been carried by the Royal Signals, I'm assuming.
That's right, yeah, and they would set these up. Because it's Morse, it's a lot clearer at a distance than speech systems are, so you could probably get further along and use this. And of course you could use this ahead of your lines, even into enemy territory, if you could get the wire out there. Because you've got headphones on and you're sending Morse, you're not saying anything, so it's a lot harder. There was a version that did
voice, wasn't there?
There are various versions of them, and there's a piece of equipment that you can get to go with it, which integrates it better with the telephone lines as well. But the Fullerphone itself is generally used as a telegraph.
Yeah.
And so you could sneak out with a cable drum on your back, lay a line as far as you dare go onto just the reverse side of a little hill, looking down at the enemy, and sit there tapping away and sending back their position to the artillery or whoever you want to get involved. So yeah, if we could just get a replacement of this beastie.
Lay it down on there, I'll see if we can get her a decent...
Okay, we'll take that one out again. Or, if anyone happens to have a buzzer chopper unit type F...
Or even the whole unit.
Or a whole unit that they don't need.
Because if we have the whole unit...
we could get them working as a pair. That would be very good. If anyone has the correct original batteries, they don't have to work, of course. But the terminals for them, I could salvage and use to make up a modern battery pack that would look authentic. So if we screw that one out again, the length of the thread of this is huge, and so we can see just what we're looking at. So it's a long thread there, but it's this pin that goes in and out which is the difficulty for repairing.
So we need another one of those.
What would be ideal is another working Fullerphone Mk IV and a spare buzzer chopper unit. Buzzer chopper type F. It's the one with the 3 terminals on the back.
Okay.
If the one you've got has got more than that, it is probably for the field telephone type F, but it isn't a type F buzzer chopper. Just to confuse things. The British forces are adept, and they still are, at using the same designations for different things. I remember years ago ordering something with a particular L service number, and what came had the same number, but certainly wasn't for our squadron's consumption. You could find anything. You could order what you think is 1,000 rounds of blank ammo, and 200 size medium blouses will turn up or something, you know.
Nice.
Anything could happen.
Well, if you're in the Navy anyway. Right, so we need another one of those. If you've got a whole unit and you'd like to donate it to the museum, let us know. Or if you've got parts for one of these buzzers or a new buzzer, let us know. What else are we after for the radio room?
Anything and everything.
So for the Halifax setup,
yes,
what else are we after?
In particular for over here,
Yes.
power supplies are our main problem. We have two types of power supply that would go underneath in the aircraft, but they're dynamotor sets.
Right.
They will be extremely noisy. Now,
Yeah.
we could use those, but ideally a ground power unit for the transmitter
For the
receiver would be the best.
So what sort of spec do we need for that? What sort of voltage or amperage or
Right,
what are we after?
the ground power unit would provide 1,250 volts direct current at 1/4 of an amp for the transmitter, 220 volts direct current at 1/4 of an amp for the receiver, and a combined 6 volt DC circuit of I think around 15 amps.
Right.
Now that's the bit I could make quite easily.
Okay.
The 1200 volt side is the difficult part to build. But
Yeah.
if we can't find an original one, we will build one eventually. There is the intercom amplifier that would go on the shelf. That would be useful to
Where are we in there?
get there. I think that's designated A1134, but I'm not sure. But pretty much anything along here. If anyone has a T1154 they want to donate, that would be great as well. Because this one is on loan and I'm not allowed to take bits off it.
That's it.
So, in terms of the radar unit, the display unit there was known as Fish Pond,
Okay.
and it's the display for the H2S radar. One of those would be absolutely amazing, and if it's in a reasonably working state, as in its tube works, then I can make that show a H2S radar pattern.
Right.
It might not be an authentic one, it might have to be generated by a computer, but the display would be right. Any of the other parts that would be attached, so another type 1 indicator would be great.
Yeah.
Because although the needle's on that move and the meter measures correctly, I can't get it to respond to a signal. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong there, but maybe it's the meter, maybe it's me. Could well be me. But there's various other things on the panels, there's interconnects, cables, any of the Jones plugs and sockets, they would be immensely useful. I've got very few of them, and finding them with the actual shrouds, the outer casing, and at right angles is very tricky. But any parts, spare knobs, spare dials,
whatever.
Any parts, they all come in useful. So there is a square type of the Morse key as well, which would be nice. Okay. So it's a Bakelite beast like that, but it's in a round square slopey box.
Okay. Yeah.
But other than that, yes, if anyone's got any bits, if anyone's got the seat.
So if any of that makes sense to you, because it doesn't to me, I'm afraid, you know, I'm a bit of a thicko. But yeah, if any of that makes sense to you and you've got them, it don't make sense to me, or whatever. We're only winging it, we're all winging it here.
Yeah, that's it.
So yeah, any of that. What do we need for the radio room? Anything else in there? We might as well do a bit of an appeal while we're on, haven't we? Right.
In terms of vintage equipment,
yes.
A couple more telephones would be nice.
Yes.
Ideally with working earpieces, so I can actually wire them together. Receiver-wise, the HRO receiver and its coil packs would be very useful. The American, I think it's the BC348, which was their equivalent of the 1155.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the war, many of those would have been fitted instead of our Marconi equipment. So that would be useful. Now, there is a type of VHF unit, which I think as a whole thing is TR9.
Okay.
And that was used with an emergency network under the now slightly inappropriate code name of Darky.
Okay.
but one of those sets would be very useful as well. Oh, in terms of more modern equipment, our main problem is antennas. We could do with a proper airband receiver antenna. There is a type known as a D777, that would be very useful. A vertical HF antenna, like an old CB type quarter wave. There is a type known as an X80, that would probably do us very nicely. These are all at the moment just outside of our funding range.
I should say so, yeah.
We don't mind second.
But we're open to loans, donations, whatever, you know.
Absolutely.
All this is making sense to you, and you've got them kicking around doing nothing. Let us know.
Any bits and pieces we can.
You might even get them back in better condition than they arrive, because we kind of gets his screwdrivers out and fiddles and stuff and fixes them.
Yeah. In terms of spare parts,
Valves,
of course. Valves are also valves. So we have a list of valves on the wall out there which would come in useful.
Yeah.
Now there's variations of them, but I've just put the common numbers. A few other bits of, well, essentially any wartime radio gear would be interesting from our point of view. And we'll see what we can get on air and make work.
So any of that, let us know. I'll get him to send me some pictures later on of the sets he's mentioned and the American stuff and the whatever he wants. And I'll put them in this video. Do that, can't we?
Yeah, we can do
and
that.
I'll put them in this video afterwards. And I'll put a few pictures of these things being used during the war at the end of this video, so stay tuned.
Yeah, in terms of non-RF equipment, a 19 set would be nice. The 88 set, any sort of
whatever you've got.
Wartime radio gear.
Yeah. So there you go, Bodgers. So we've had a look at the Fullerphone and we've had a look around here and seen what we want. So yeah.
Oh, one further thing I've just seen, because I've looked this way. Over here we have my own personal Batco wallet. Now this is from the 80s and 90s. Batco standing for Battle Code. So this is a field encryption system.
Okay.
The one used during the war was called Slidex. If anyone has anything to do with Slidex, that would be very interesting. Of course, if anyone's got an Enigma machine, we'll have that as well.
Yeah, we've all got one of them in the wardrobe.
Yeah, just bring it out. It'll be under old LPs.
Yeah, all that. So any of that. If you've got one of them, all that. I'll put pictures of all those. He's going to send me them, and I'll put it in video. Keep watching. You'll see the pictures of those, what they are. I'll put a little thing underneath saying what they are, and then we'll have some pictures of these being used during the war. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. I don't know what I've got. I don't think he'll see you next week unless we get some extra special in. Who knows? But you'll see him again, no doubt. There'll be something else comes up. Yeah, thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I'll see you next week.
It was the dark of the moon on the 6th of June and a Kenworth pulling logs. Cab over Pete with a reefer on and a Jimmy hauling hogs. We was headed for Bear on I-10 about a mile out of Shaky Town. I said, Pigpen, this here's a rubber duck and I'm about to put the hammer down. And you want to back off them hogs? 10-4 Roger, about 5 miles or so. 10 Roger, them hogs is getting intense up here. By the time we got into Tulsa town, we had 85 trucks in all. But there's a roadblock up on the Cloverleaf, and them bears is wall to wall. Yeah, them smokies was thick as bugs on a bumper. They even had a bear in the air. I says, call an old truck, says, here's the duck. We're about to go a-hunting bear. Give me a 10-9 on that big pen. Negatory, Big Ben, you're still too close. Yeah, them hogs are starting to close up my sinuses. Mercy's sakes, you better back off another 10. Well, we rolled up Interstate 44 like a rocket sled on rails. We tore up all of our swindle sheets and left them setting on the scales. By the time we hit that Chi-town, them bears is a-getting smart. They brought up some reinforcements from the Illinois National Guard. There was armored cars.